And if you could just introduce yourself.
I play keyboards in Alice.
My name is Anna Maria, and I am the founder and vocalist in the band Vajra.
What was the initial start?
Yeah, so we all have pretty storied histories.
I was just bored during COVID. Did a little demo, put it out, and it was pretty well received by the community. And
always had a thing for horror punk and stuff.
Something that started with me and a laptop during quarantine, and just like, oh yeah, all those times I said, if only I didn't have to work my job all the time, and now it's like I could have time to do that. Well, now this is that.
Hello and welcome all to this first episode of Killer Albums here on the Heartfelt Horror Media Network. My name is William Hamilton and I will be the host of this show. So, as some of you know, in the previous video I made, I mentioned that this is not specifically a review series. What this is it's sort of a way for me to express to people what I like about these albums and why I like them. These are going to be some of my favorite albums or some of my favorite singles or whatever it is. And I just wanted to share. I just wanted to create a video series where I could kind of geek out and share with you all what it is I like about these songs and why I like them. So this first album is going to be The Boogeyman, and the album or by The Boogeyman, I apologize, and the album is Rotten Leaves. And I have a lot to say about this. I think it is an incredible album for many reasons. But I think context is important also. The album as a whole is a concept album. Their whole project is a concept project. It's all built around the lore that they have written in this book that we will leave a link down below so that you can find that. And it's based around the same shared story. So why is that relevant? A lot of the music is written in a way that follows a storyteller tradition. It's not the same as like your trail songs and country, but what it is it's written in a way where the story is what they are trying to service. So the songs themselves, yes, a lot of them are incredibly well written just as standalone songs. Like as a single, you hear that, you go, oh, that's a cool song. But as a whole, as the album, that's what I think is harder to do, is to write a coherent story that you want to hear from start to finish. That's a whole album's worth of music. And like I said, I've listened to this easily like 50 times now since I've bought it. I pre-ordered the album. Even before the album came out, I reached out to the band and I was like, hey, whatever your next album is, let me know. I want to send you guys some money to help support the creation of it. And I'm glad that I did because quite honestly, I think this is absolutely brilliant. Um, Ryan, one of the members of the band, he's become a kind of a good friend of mine. He is incredibly talented as a musician, in my opinion. And he has this really strong gift and knack for using harmony to kind of dramatize moments and to help shape the feelings behind the words that you're hearing, which I think is really cool. It's very cinematic, to be honest. And that's something that should be taken into consideration when going over these songs. So let's jump right into it then. Let's talk about the first songs. I took notes on this just a little while ago so I could keep my thoughts clear. So I'll be reading from those as I go over this. The first song, My Eyes, opens the album with a cool, moody track. It's got solid songwriting and just overall a fun, laid-back, harmonized guitar solo throughout it. It has this strong, really pop punk rock, like punk rock vibe. And what I mean by that is that there's this kind of noticeable difference between the more hardcore punk influence bands and the more like rock and roll influence bands that came before them. Um, uh, a lot of bands in the 90s, they would, travel back and forth between both of these styles. I think personally, the hardcore style, we sometimes called it skate punk back then. Um, uh, it became the pop punk style for a little while. I thoroughly enjoy it, but it's really refreshing sometimes to go back and hear the more rock influenced sound of punk being reincorporated into the music. And so I just want to say well done on that. It was very, very beautiful song. The next song, Old Ghost, almost has like a social distortion vibe, and it's really one of my favorites. I like the solo in the song. Again, done tastefully, but it's got this like good vibe. It's just a solid song. I appreciate that it has more of a gentle, softer vibe after the opening track. It has a very catchy, like sing-along feel to it. And I think that can be really important. Those kind of vibe shifts on an album. They help break up the album and help it feel like these are individual songs, even though they're part of a connected story. So nice job on that again, guys. The following song after that, their third song, Save Me, that was one of the singles that they released first for the album, and it is just such a fun song. Like if you haven't heard it, go listen to it. As this strong 50s meets punk rock kind of vibe to it. It's got a very uplifting major feeling, but also due to the blues influences, it has this haunting sadness and beauty when listened to on a more deep level. And other than it just being a really fun track, I don't have too much more to say about that. Um, in horror punk in general, it's one of those genres that like gets to dip into these other styles, whether it's heavy metal or whether it is, 50s doo-wop or whatever, and incorporate them back into the style of punk rock. And I think that they achieved that very well with the 50s aspect in Save Me. So good job, guys. Also one of my favorite songs. The Leaves Are Falling. That song has some really cool chord changes in it. The darker verses, strong tension in the pre-choruses, and more uplifting feeling in the choruses. The bridge, because of those uplifting feeling in the choruses, when the bridge comes in, it has this haunting, spooky, heavy feeling leading into an aggressive buildup right before the solo. And again, the solos on this album, they're just laid back, but they just fit the mood and vibe of the songs that they're in and the overall like album. I really enjoyed the way the song ends also, so nice work on that. Ending a song is really important. Sometimes, like the fade out is cool, but sometimes like bands just don't know really how to end a song, and so they just kind of end it in this weird way. And I thought this one had like a strong ending. Uh, the next song, Deceived. Uh, it's just a fun kind of pop punk song, in my opinion. It has a fun melodic run that helps break up the song and takes the spot of like a true traditional solo. I wouldn't call what they performed in the middle of that song a solo because it doesn't feel like one. Uh, it feels like an effect that is laid into the song to like break up the rest of it, more of a melody than a solo. Um, and I just thought that was kind of a cool way to do that. Um, I think that it also has a good ending, and it felt good. So nice job on that one. Um, Spectre's Gaze. Uh, Before the album was recorded, Ryan and I had been talking about how to make something feel spooky. And one of the things that we discussed was that context is important. So what I mean by that is if you're trying to write a song that feels spooky or has spooky parts in it, the songs that surround it and the songs that or the elements inside it really matter. To get something to feel spooky, you have to contrast it with something that doesn't feel spooky. And that it can be hard to do, but one way to do that is to go from like more major and minor, major to minor, or major to something with more dissonance or more tension. And uh, Spectre's Gaze, I think, really captures that, has a strong contrast in it. And The song does a good job showing those principles like in practice. It has this uplifting feel in through parts of the song, and then it feels like you suddenly become aware you're being watched. Um, like you're being watched in the dark. The bridge build up and solo just work. Again, a killer way to end the song. Great job on that one, guys. Um, Moving on, the next song, Wings of a Dream. This song has a slow, heavy, dramatic feeling. It's very moody and has a very laid back and somber feeling. I really enjoyed the focus on the vocals in the song. Everyone just kind of plays their part, and it just works. The slide guitar in it was nice, and it added a really nice touch. I don't know whose idea that was, but it was really cool. Good job. Um, the song after that, Hex, is a nice kind of has a nice kind of swing feeling to it. It's very danceable, and that's something else I haven't brought up too much so far, is that every song so far on the album and going forward, really, I would say, has this strong danceable feeling. And that's in part because yes, it does have some like up-tempo songs, but the songs never feel like they're so up-tempo that you couldn't dance to them. And that's like a tricky thing to do, especially like in punk rock. A lot of bands are encouraged to go that more aggressive, more all out. And that's especially post the hardcore punk and post skate punk kind of stuff, which again, I really enjoy. Nothing wrong with that. But the danceability of the songs on this album, I think, are one of my favorite aspects of it, and it's something I'd like to see brought more back into punk in general. The solo and the song in general kind of have a haunting vibe, which again for horror punk, I kind of feel is important. You know, you want to get spooky or haunting or aggressive and shocking sometimes. So um, overall, the mood of this album has a more haunting, like somber feel, and it's like a slow burn, but not a slow listen, if that makes any sense. Um, After Hex, the next song, Where This All Began, another song with a sort of 50s meets pop punk style song. Overall, just a cool tune that has a very storyteller vibe to it. The harmonies are really fun. It has a very fun bridge, rhythm change, and another laid back solo. Just a fun song to drive and vibe to. That's my feeling on it. Uh, and again, when I say a 50s meets pop punk style, this one didn't have like a doo-wop kind of vibe. I mean more in the sense of like how the Ramones kind of tried to imitate, the old 50s rock kind of vibe. Um, it's an original like kind of sound. It's definitely punk rock, but you can feel that influence in it, which is nice. Um, so the following song, Death is Life. Okay, first of all, nice use of the synths in that. The tension and the aggression of this song, really, I feel the song capitalized on the positive vibes of where this all began. And again, this goes back to that context matters. Um, because the previous song on the album was brighter and happier and had that kind of fun kind of feeling to it, the heaviness and the like somberness and the darkness of this song of Death is Life really shine through. And both songs are, they're fun songs, but I feel that together next to each other on the album and their placement, that was really well done and really well thought out. I don't know if it was thought out or not. I haven't talked to Ryan or any of the band members about that. But in my opinion, going the extra mile and thinking about those things and doing that, this is an example of how that works and why it's important. Um, so yeah, I've like I said in my notes, I really feel that it helps elevate both songs, having them next to each other. I enjoyed the part of the song that slightly speeds up with intentionality. And if you listen to the song, you might catch it, you might miss it. It's really cool, but like there's this subtle buildup of tension, and then it just it just builds it in the right way before going into the next section of the song. This song almost feels like a dark reflection of Save Me for some reason. And I think it's because of the way the guitar is played in certain parts. I can't quite put my finger on it, but maybe in another time I talk to Ryan, I'll ask him about that. Uh, Another one of my favorite songs on the album, Superstition. I love the opening drum beat to and the harmonized leads to the start of the song. I am, like I said, I'm a sucker for that kind of rhythm, and I just always have been. It's just fun. It's I just want to say also, whoever's idea it was to put the organs in there, awesome. Like killer use of the organs. It's such a good hook, and like I wanted to hear more of it. Not just in this song, but throughout the album. Once I heard it, I was like, come on, give me more. Um, and I just get the feeling that like this one would be an absolute ripper live. I know that when bands record songs, sometimes they play them at slower tempos, whether it's for danceability, as we discussed previously. And I do feel that this has like a more danceable speed to it. But I have a feeling that after playing live for a while and the band starting to speed up, this one would be it would be a lot of fun. Uh, and again, bringing back the harmonized guitar was cool. I believe it was brought back a couple more times near the end. Ash Upon the Ground, what a cool intro. Uh, and then like a whole mood change. The tempo and the vibe shift of that was really well done. The rest of the song is very danceable. And again, I noting on that, the whole album has this very danceable storyteller feel to it that kind of connects everything together. Uh, uh the song by its nature not going into blistering speeds but like just fast enough to be exciting. I think that was really cool, like a good choice. Again, it preserves that danceability, but it also the shift of tempo like kind of shows those underlying hardcore influences that the band does have, and I thought that was kind of cool. Obviously they've also have metal influences and other things, and those traits are common in other forms of music. Um, uh, but I think the metal and the hard metal or hardcore influence, whichever it was they were pulling from for that, it was nicely done. Communion in the Wind. Uh, this song really just sets in stone the progressive storytelling nature of this album. The song writing is solid. It is clear that the music was created in service of the dramatic moments in storytelling. Insert and Sorry about the fly, everyone. Uh, and it doesn't. What I mean by that again, it's not storyteller as in like sing along, or storyteller as in like trail songs and country, but I would argue that from the storyteller tradition of the trail song via a punk rock lens. And I think that that's a really cool way that they've worked on a lot of the songs in the album. Uh, No One in Between, a fun, uplifting feeling song. This is To me, it is clear that the band has a strong grasp of melody and harmony. The woes are just absolutely beautiful, and they really add to the strong vocal delivery. The chord changes and progressions are really cool, and they again help shift the mood in a more dramatic way. Yet it's a very uplifting song. So my overall thoughts. Again, I've expressed this a little bit, but I wanted to really just kind of lay it out here at the end as like a thesis. This album has a lot of strong songwriting. I think a lot of the songs I would consider more of the singles are at the start of the album. And that's, good thing. You want to hook listeners in and keep them listening through the whole thing. But just something worth noting. I feel that it follows a strong storyteller vibe that we've discussed. Um, and I feel that the band makes good use of their understanding of both melody and harmony to dramatize the album. There's enough dissonance in the album to help make the beautiful parts feel beautiful, and there's enough key changes in the album to go from like a happy feeling to a sad feeling, which I think, knowing a little music theory can go a long way. And I think that this album like really does show that. It's not mandatory for especially a punk band to know music theory, but this is an example in my mind of what punk and that kind of music and alternative could be if artists embraced a little bit more of that. I feel it was incredibly creative. And I feel that they had like a strong use of harmony and melody. It never really goes overboard with any of that stuff, but the or anything really. The band just does what they need to do to serve the songs and the story overall. The vocals are absolutely beautiful. Wonderful job. Keep killing it. Like no notes on that. It was just fun to hear the singing overall. The solos were tasteful, but not overly flashy, which is nice. I do like flashy solos, but um, uh, again, the whole point of this album is storytelling. And so like the solos in the album helping to break up moments in the song, yet keep the melodic flow going are just really nice. The vocal harmonies were a treat. I wanted to hear more of them throughout the album. There were several times where I would hear a song and I would like think to myself, I wish there were backups or woes or something in this particular song. But again, I feel maybe that would have taken away from the storyteller aspect of it. Um, and so that's neither here nor there. When they were there, they were awesome. And I think that I think that again, that's that same idea of like with the spookiness, sometimes less is more. When they do come in, you really appreciate them and you think, wow, that's awesome. Uh, some of the songs that really stand out to me are Old Ghost, Save Me, The Leaves Are Falling, and Wings of a Dream. Of all of them on the album, Wings of a Dream is my favorite. Hear that, Ryan? I told you, I'd tell you. Wings of a Dream is my favorite. So many times the band could have taken that beautiful, heavy song and just absolutely launched into like a blistering speed. Just during some of the drum fills, it would have been like a cool transition. But I think personally, the choice to maintain that slow, heavy burn in that song was just awesome. It sets the song apart from like overwhelmingly most of the album, and it was just incredibly well done. Um, and so with that, I don't think I have too much more to say about the album. I think, as I've said, I really enjoyed this. I think you, as the audience at home, will really enjoy this. And thank you again, Ryan, for sending me my copy and for allowing me the chance to get a listen to it and to do this. To the audience at home, if you have bought the album, if you have listened to the album, I would really be curious to know what your thoughts are on the overall album or your favorite individual songs. What are your favorite songs? So yeah, leave that in the comments below. So with that, I'll end this video by saying like, share, subscribe. Make sure to hit that notification button, and I hope to see you all in another video. All right, bye.